Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about a different series. We're going to talk about SpyXFamily or SpyXFamily, however you want to pronounce it. I'm going to pronounce it SpyXFamily because, well, let's be honest, if you can pronounce Hunter Hunter without the X, you can pronounce SpyXFamily without the X. Now, what I want to talk about more specifically when it comes to SpyXFamily is the character Anya, which is the little girl that is the child of the family of this series, if you will. You have Lloyd and you have Yori, then you have Anya, who is a little child, and I really wanted to talk about this character simply because she is sort of the heart of this series. Like, if you're being hooked on SpyXFamily, I can almost guarantee you it is going to be because of her. Now, that's not to say that the rest of the cast is necessarily bad, it's just that Anya is definitely the center of this series, like in every single way I can think of. Not necessarily plot, because there's a lot of subplots going around at the same time as the main one, but you're definitely going to find that Anya is the center of attention almost all the time. And the thing about her character that I would like to talk about is the way she's being portrayed as a child. Now, this is not necessarily something that is unique to SpyXFamily, but me not having read too much manga, like I'm not a crazy manga head who's read like all manga that's out there, you know. I am very much a selective reader, not even gonna pretend to be anything else, but in terms of at least new gen manga, I feel like Anya is definitely one of the best kids that has ever been introduced into a series, simply because of how well she plays her role. Not just because she is cute and adorable and has a sad backstory, not to say that that's bad or anything, but Anya is so much more. I mean, there are some great examples apart from Anya in new gen as well, but to me, Anya is definitely the most realistically portrayed child in new gen manga, potentially even one of the better kids portrayed in manga, period. So the reason why I think Anya is so well portrayed realistically as a child in manga, especially new gen manga, is that comparing to some of the other kids that we've really seen, even comparing to say Eri from My Hero Academia, though I'm not really gonna go into her character, Anya seems to be the most grounded, down to earth sort of character that you've got, even though she has a very shonen-esque style to her. Like, she's definitely not like super realistic because she is an Esper, right? I mean, she has a power, she can read minds, and that makes her a bit unique to your average kid, but at the same time, that Esper trait doesn't really get in the way of her character in the slightest. The only thing it really does is, at least so far, it adds a lot of comedic elements to the series, which is kind of what the series is centered around. Like, it's a very comedy based manga, and that is what I like about it, because the way Anya's character is written really fits into that mold. Like, she can be out shopping with her mother, she can be out with her dad, she can be in school or even in her own room studying, and you'll just feel that realistic aura about her, like how she feels like a real kid. She doesn't feel like a fictional character at all. She actually complains, she is happy, she can walk up to a stranger and tell them about the most mundane things, but to her those things are obviously extremely significant to her personally. And that is something that I've seen a lot in real life. Not me personally, I'll be honest with you, but I've seen a lot of children, they'll just walk up to some stranger they've never met before and they'll be really happy about something, and said adult or whatever, they'll just have to go with it, you know. They don't really know what's going on, but it's a kid, right? And that's just one of the many things that really radiates with Anya's character, is how realistic she actually is and how she's so relatable to any child, really. I mean, me not being a child anymore, I can't relate to her at the moment, but I sure could relate to her at some point of my life, at least parts of her. Now, another thing that's really interesting about Anya's character is just how she is written compared to the other two members of her family. Like, you have Lloyd and you have Yori, which is her adoptive father and adoptive mother. They live two secret lives, and in a way Anya does too. She lives a very secret life in the sense that nobody knows that she's an Esper apart from us readers, and whenever her parents or anyone for that matter have her like a really crazy thought or something, and you know, she'll be hearing what they're thinking, so she will tackle any situation with that in mind. Like, she will actually read your mind and then sort of work around you. Like, I remember there was this one time when her adoptive mother was actually thinking about that one time when she was younger and she was hugging her younger brother so hard she cracked his ribs, and Anya is just freaking out in her mind because she's hearing that exact thought while, you know, they're having such a happy time, and deep down she doesn't really want to, you know, let people know that she's an Esper, obviously. So she kind of has to keep keep it to herself, which is actually a really interesting thing as well in this series, like how well she's able to keep that to herself. Like she is on the verge of being found out a bunch of times actually. I mean, I don't think anyone would really suspect her of being an esper. Like this is a world where most things are very grounded in reality. Like an esper is kind of out there even in this series, so even if she did say that she could read minds, no one would really believe her, so what's the point? Not that that's something that she considers in her mind probably. As a reader, that is something that's really interesting to keep in mind. Like even if she did say something or were found out, who would believe that she was an esper and could read minds of all things? They would find a different answer, or at least try their best to. The last thing that I want to talk about in this video is how Anya seems to be pushing for a relationship, like a real relationship between her adoptive parents, Lloyd and Yoruba. And what's interesting about that is a lot of times, at least it feels like it, Anya is acting as the third wheel in their relationship, even though they're actually not dating for real. Anya is really trying to push them together, like at certain points in the series. Like when you're reading this manga, you'll see what I mean. Like she's trying to get them to kiss and all kinds of things. Like she'll ask them like, can you kiss? And they'll just blush and say like, no, we can't do that. And that's another thing about Anya's character that's kind of realistic in a way, I guess, because if you have a younger kid like among you, right, and you might find that kids are trying to really get between you when it comes to these kind of things. Like it's not something, again, it's not something that I've personally been part of, but at the same time I can definitely see this being a real thing. Like it feels extremely real, if I'm being honest. Again, like it doesn't feel like a fictional element in place, even though it is obviously used to push both those two characters together, as well as Anya's character in a really different way. Like Anya's character is obviously used very differently than the other two. Like the other two are having two secret professions, as well as pretending to be in love pretty much, while Anya, she's going to school because of a certain mission that Lloyd is having, and on top of that she's trying to push these two together into loving each other, or at least kissing each other. You know, that's her ultimate goal at this point. And I really hope that this continues in terms of quality. Like I really hope that this series does not drop in quality at all, because if it does, I'll be really bummed out. Like right now, it is definitely one of the best mangas for its size anyway. Like you can't compare it to a much bigger series. It just does not have enough content to do so. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about SpyXFamily if you're reading it, and if you aren't reading it, go read it right now. It's on Manga Plus to read for free. Wherever in the world you may be, you can read it, so go do that. Anyway, do let me know down below in the comments what you think about Anya's character, assuming you know about her character. And as always, if you did, be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. This has been Chaotic Plus, and remember, Toge's waifu, Toge's laifu.